weirdest thing. The first is the public forum. Did anyone in attendance want to say anything? Nope, we have head shakes in the negative, so we will move on. The next item is to approve the June 6th meeting minutes, which are on the back of the agenda if we need to review them.
Look good to me. I will entertain a notion to approve.
Okay.
I second.
Okay, so all those in favor of approving the minutes as written, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then
Aye.
any opposed? All right, so they are approved. And then as we were discussing, we got all the final reports, which was a lot of paperwork. And so we just need to approve the reports. It looks like we're still waiting for the one from KHOI, is what
Right.
it looks like in the email.
Right. So I understand that all the others have come in, and that's the only one that they've asked for an extension until next week.
Okay.
Was there a particular reason?
I think one of their core staff people is out of town, and
Oh,
just
Yeah,
wanted to
there's
get-
actually, I don't know if Carly did this, but they included the email from KHOI saying that staff turnover and moving and other things. And then,
Okay.
yeah, the person being out of town.
Yeah, I missed that. Okay,
So an extension until Monday, the 8th. So,
that's fine.
but first we'll approve the fiscal year 22 annual grant final reports. If there are any comments about any of them.
I will admit that I was unable to review them all in the time allotted, so I don't feel like I can vote yes or no.
Okay. I think we were also discussing, I think it could be relevant to this, and then also maybe the discussion a little bit later about the process to be more clear with them on what they need to include in the final report. Because, for example, the Des Moines Metro Opera included the Des Moines Metro Opera Guild included the entire Des Moines Metro Opera program, which doesn't actually relate directly to what CODA is funding. And so I don't think we actually need all of that information from them. That's my opinion.
Mine
And
too.
so I think that there are things like that we could be more clear about what they do need to send and what they don't need to send. But that could come later. So, yeah.
Just makes it easier for us to read through it all, really.
Mhm.
Maybe-
Yeah, and I just don't think those aren't the things we're funding, right? With
Right.
with their application. So good to know, but not necessary as a reporting
Right.
requirement. So, any other thoughts about the? No. Okay, so we just need a motion to approve the 22 annual grant final reports.
I move to approve the final reports.
And second.
I will second.
Okay, so all those in favor of approving the reports as received, and then also that would include later, we would have to approve the KHOI one that we don't have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And all those opposed? And one abstaining. Okay, so next was the spring 2022 special project grant final reports, which we had quite a few that spring because we had that increased money. And so again, any thoughts or comments? That was the first time since I've been on CODA where I've seen not all the money was spent, with the Octagon not using any of their granted money, and then ACAC also not using all of their granted money.
Has that happened in the past before? Or is this like a first?
I don't ever remember it in the past 5 years.
No, I'd say it's pretty unusual.
So then that just, if they're not using it, just comes back and into the.
So that was for spring 2022, right?
Yeah.
So we will now have crossed into the new fiscal year. So unused money from CODA grants, including the annual grants and the special project grants at the end of the fiscal year, it will go back to the local option sales tax fund. So It's just sort of the source fund that pays for things like CODA and human services and community betterment projects and things like that.
If no one asked for an extension,
I
No,
think both found money other places. Was that?
the donations seem to have gone up
Hmm.
higher than they budgeted
Yeah.
for several groups. I can't remember if that was annual grants or the special projects, but yeah, I think people have been generous.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah.
But then going forward, do we need to take that into account? So say the Octagon comes back again, or anyone in this, is that something we should keep in mind for next one? Or
Maybe it's just a line in the training because we did not fully fund other applications,
Right.
right? And so there would have been more money available for other applications had that money not been needed. So that would be maybe just something to start by just emphasizing to say,
yeah,
Spend it.
right? Like if you're given it,
Yeah.
spend it.
Yes.
Think of
got it.
something.
Use it.
Yeah.
You're a creative
Especially because
organization.
perhaps the other donations may be more flexible with what they could be
Yeah.
spent
True.
on.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but
They must-
it does because there is some element of competition to the applications, right?
Right.
It is limiting
Mhm.
because we don't have the option to go back to those applications and say, here, just
Right.
kidding, we have more money. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
True.
surprised someone
Do-
didn't
do we have-
research it
Yeah.
internally.
Do we have the numbers of how much was not spent out of the total fraction or something?
I don't have that with me, but I could.
It was about $4,000 from the special projects.
Out of the total pot? How much do you know?
It was quite a lot. It was like 18,000, I think.
Yeah, I think we had combined quite a bit of money.
Maybe
Yeah.
somewhere between 18 and 20.
So
So a decent-
25%.
Yeah.
Okay.
it's
It's-
a
it's
fair
only-
chunk.
It is, and that was kind of an experiment, right? To see how creative people could be by throwing a lot of money out there.
Right.
And people were so creative, in fact, that they found other ways to fund it. And
Yeah.
yeah, well, that's probably something we should figure out. Is so it seems like 18,000 or whatever is more than enough for a, given limited statistics, more than enough for a special projects program, and 1,000 is too little.
So Steve, can you scroll to it and find out like what it was they were going to do?
No,
Okay.
this is an unsearchable PDF for some reason. Sorry.
But no, I do think that that's an important because part of the discussion when we ended up with that larger pot for last spring was because the city council had given that additional COVID money, and then we were deciding how much to hold back for special projects versus how much to go and put toward annual applications. And I think, like you said, it was a bit of an experiment, and so potentially that's more than we need to save annually,
Right.
right?
Or
Which, and I think this year we actually are right in the middle, right? We did 10,000. So
Yeah, there's 10,000, and then I think you awarded a total of, well, it wasn't.
it's like 1,600.
Yeah,
Maybe
for
around
the fall. Yeah,
Yeah.
We're not
so you'll
allowed.
have the balance for the spring.
Yeah, it was right on
Right.
here.
So you would need quite a few spring applications to fully utilize all that funding.
Yeah, so 1,550 was awarded for fall, which means we should have 8,450, right?
Yeah.
Left for spring. So, okay. And some of that conversation I think applies to the when we review the forms too. But any other comments on the special project final reports?
Is there an opportunity to put on an agenda when we don't have to leave in half an hour? Discussion of, a 5-year plan for how to balance special projects and annual grants and stuff, given this new information that we have about how people are using it or not using it.
Yeah, we certainly could put that on a future agenda. Another timely place to do that would be when you review all of the annual grant applications, and then you make your recommendation for how much should be reserved for special project grants.
Mhm.
That would be a good time to talk about what's your goal with that money? What are you trying to achieve with that reserved money?
Well, the additional money was a one-time only thing. We hope. I mean, we don't need another pandemic.
Right, but it was a good chance to see
Mhm.
what kind of
Yeah.
need is out there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve the final grant reports if we're feeling like we're at that place.
That's okay. Go
Yeah.
for it.
Okay.
I have a second.
All right. So all those in favor of approving the final grant reports, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And all those opposed? And then one abstaining. Okay, so then moving on to approving the annual grant application and report forms. So you do have a copy printed that was also emailed. And so if you did have a chance to review it, were there edits or questions or things that we should consider changing for the application year?
It looked like it gathered all of the things that we had talked about previously, I believe.
Can I ask you to speak about? Not that I can hear all the conversations, but I can't hear anything.
Oh,
Okay, yeah.
And I can move up.
Yeah, feel free.
Are our microphones on, Jenny? Can you tell?
I can hear you.
Okay,
I think people just aren't looking at the microphone, they're looking at each other,
gotcha.
Yeah.
which is awesome. I
Yeah.
love it.
No, thank you.
eye contact.
Well, also there's this button.
One thing that I did see that I think would be good to change, and it was also based on reviewing the final reports, is the special project grant tells people how to identify CODA. I can't find it anywhere in the annual grant. And so sometimes I see it like they'll say, funded in part by a local option sales tax allocated by the city of Ames through the Commission on the Arts, right? They'll say that whole line on some of their advertising things, and I don't think they need to say that. In the special project grants, it's more concise with support of the City of Ames Commission on the Arts. And so I think if we could add that to under the responsibilities and obligations section of the annual report, that would be helpful, because I think people aren't clear maybe on how to recognize the support.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And then I had just and this is just a weird copy editing thing, is that we have periods after things that aren't sentences. And it just like
Where would
irks
that
me.
be?
On a lot of the lists, it happens on all of them. It's like criteria for
Oh.
funding, not eligible for funding, that kind of thing. And it's not, the guidelines. It's a totally unnecessary thing. But I guess on the,
And for me, if they're consistent,
yeah, they're not, I guess.
Okay.
That's the thing too, is sometimes they have periods and sometimes they don't. So the copy editor in me, like my eye twitches a little bit. It's totally insignificant, but. And I did have one question that I know I've asked before. So Brian and others, I apologize because I don't remember the exact reasoning of why we require nonprofit tax exempt status specifically and having a tax exempt number, as opposed to just allowing anyone operating a not for profit without the tax exemption number.
I don't know if you've asked that before.
Oh, I felt like I did
I
last year.
don't recall that. There's I don't know if there's a particular policy I could point to that says that it must be so. There are some nuances in state law about city that make it a little easier for cities to contract with nonprofit organizations more easily for things like community betterment type things. But I don't know that that's insurmountable. If you felt strongly that CODA should be able to fund for-profit organizations, then we could certainly look into that and make some do some research and figure out what it would take to do that.
I don't think my argument wouldn't be people operating arts activities or arts events with a for-profit business plan, but doing it in a not for-profit business model, but without the non-profit tax exemption.
Okay.
Right, because I think it requires a totally different structure of governance for organizations, and I think there are lots of places that still consider arts organizations and arts organizing in a not for profit way, but not in a non-profit status way, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah.
Do you know of examples of a not-for-profit?
I can't think of ones in Ames specifically, but where
Me.
you?
Well, yeah,
I'm
I
sitting
mean,
next to one.
Vagrant Fear is technically a not-for-profit organization. We're definitely new enough, but I've looked into the nonprofit side of things, and there's a lot of stuff that you have to go through that we're just not ready to do or to even make that decision. So there might be, I mean, I'm totally ineligible for any of this, but if somebody, similar to me is new enough that they're trying to get started, but they're not ready for nonprofit status and all the things that you have to do to get that, then getting a grant as a not-for-profit may help jumpstart them, get them moving. Then eventually they become nonprofit or go for a for-profit, which then would negate them for the grant stuff too. But it'll get them that point to where they can decide, but without grant money, they might not reach that point to where they do that. So
Thanks. But an organization like that still has enough organizational talent to manage a grant from the city.
yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
Interesting.
Sounds good.
And in 6 years, if I'm still around, I might be out there. But by that point, I hopefully
We'll speak up.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to get a non-profit, and for a lot of smaller things, it's just not worth the headache in the beginning. But they could use, a grant to start something or whatever.
And I think I think it's easy enough to gauge their not-for-profit motivations with the budget sheets that they fill out, right?
Right.
Is how their income and expenses balance.
I'm liking it.
So I don't know if that's something that's possible to change on this round, since they're available to the public so soon, or if that's something that we think about.
I'd be hesitant to recommend that you do it on the fly here without looking into it further and what the implications are. And it would be difficult at this point to look into it and get it out the door if such a change was desired before the application paperwork needs to be out there. So I'd recommend that if that's something you want to look into, we look at it for the next round.
Okay. Yeah, that's.
I think we should be doing a better study than that, How big can the for-profit be, and what's the purpose of it? And we know what a nonprofit is. That's definitely know. It's something for the benefit, But a for-profit, who knows? You have to go into fiscalization or whatever it is, which is totally different beast, I think. Trying to expand our program that we have, we don't have enough problems with what we have. That's my opinion.
And I think they'd still be held to the same guidelines, right? So they would still have to be an arts-centered organization, and that they would still have to.
Like the C.Y. Stevens, for example.
Well, they're not. I don't think they're already excluded because they're connected to a governmental agency,
Right.
Right. I think, right. I would assume anything at Iowa State is excluded. That
Yeah,
would
but
be my
they
understanding.
have a private company managing for Iowa State.
Yeah.
Right.
The venue works or whatever it was. it's a complex
Mhm.
situation. You know?
You actually have funded an Iowa State entity before. Varieties has received money from CODA. It's been years, obviously.
Okay,
But not Varieties, Visha, I'm sorry.
gotcha.
Oh, Visha.
Okay,
Visha.
Yeah.
really? I didn't think of Visha as an arts event, but,
They use it
okay.
specifically
Yeah.
for the
With the
play.
students.
Yeah. the
Gotcha,
stars-
okay.
stars over
Stars
Visha.
over Visha.
Yeah.
It was years ago.
Yeah, right.
Interesting,
to.
because I'm in my head that restriction of non-governmental organization to me would restrict Iowa State, but
I'm-
I don't know what that means.
And I can't remember, and maybe you do remember, but I think Stars Over Visha may have been purely a student-driven
Mhm.
and not I mean, they were Iowa State students, but it wasn't like ISU theater presenting
Right.
stars. I think it was the theater as part of, all of the rest of them, all the rest of the different colleges. The students did something, and I think they may have gotten a grant. I'm just guessing because I obviously wasn't here, but they may have gotten a grant because it was student-based, and it was I want to say was Stars, was that a free event, or did the audience still have to
I
pay?
think they had to pay.
Okay,
I never went.
it's
to
been
it.
a few years.
The tickets were hard to come by, I think.
Yeah,
They would sell out.
so that may have been why that particular thing was.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I
That's good to
agree. I mean, we're not going to give a grant to Iowa State Theater to do a show at Stevens, clearly.
And that's where the decision comes. Why this and not this? You know.
Right.
Even
Oh yeah, the gray line between not for profit and for profit is
clear.
I mean, it really just depends. Like you said, we'd have to see the budget. I mean, if you're in the if you're in the red because
Stay out of business.
yeah. But I mean, that's the thing is do we help out a not for profit try and start up something new and different or not? I mean, it definitely requires discussion.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Probably beyond our scope. City.
Well, it's certainly worth talking about, but I think Brian is absolutely right.
Yeah.
Getting it done by September
Oh, yeah.
or something is not
No.
going to happen.
No.
So is there, should we come up with a plan moving forward of how to look into it more, to provide more information to the commission? Is that something?
Yeah, I think the next step would be if you would, if somebody wants to move that the commission discuss this further at a future CODA meeting, if that passes, and I think it probably will, then we can put it on a future agenda. Probably not the September one, but sometime in the
Right.
October or later time period, and then I can bring you back some research and I'll help walk you through the decision.
Well, I will move that we bring this up at a future CODA meeting with more information to discuss the possibility of expanding to other not-for-profit arts organizations.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Go ahead.
Okay.
I said aye.
Okay.
All right, and so then going back to the agenda item we're on, the annual grant application and report forms, were there any other edits? So if not, then we would need a motion to approve that.
I motion that we approve the annual grant application. That's one we're looking at.
And report form.
The report is.
And the report form, sorry, report form,
Both.
the blank part.
All right, and then did we have a second? Yeah, Jaime? Okay, and then all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And all those opposed? Okay, so then up next is the approving the special project grant application and report form. I think the one thing I thought was that we had changed the funding last year to make it up to $3,000, and just whether or not we wanted to keep it at that amount for this coming spring. And again, remembering we have $8,450.
Is there a reason not to? Oh, the individuals are 3,000, not the total.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah.
In the past, there haven't been many requests for special projects.
And I think last year we had a couple who asked that full amount, but then we definitely had maybe people that asked a little bit higher than they would have, but not even asking for a full 3,000. So I think people were still asking for what they needed, and that's good.
And then there was actors.
Yes. Yeah.
I would love to see this more well subscribed.
Yeah.
So I think 3,000 tops really is a good thing, and that's a nice chunk of change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Worth the paperwork.
Yeah.
So unless they don't spend it all.
Yeah.
They don't get it.
Any other changes or edits?
Nope, but now that you drew my attention to it, I see your period.
Right.
We'll take care of that.
It's really only for Nancy.
It
She
really
doesn't
is.
stay up late at night bothered by it.
Yeah, it's one of those.
I'm
things.
bothered by it too. Like I said. I'm married to a copy editor. So.
All right, so then I will make a motion to approve the spring 2023 special project grant application and report forms.
I second.
All right, and all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right, and then last few things, upcoming important dates. I think that's supposed to be the 2022-2023, right? Annual grant and spring 2023
Yes.
special project grant. I was like, did I miss a year? I wasn't sure, but it's possible. And spring 2023 special project grant applications will be available to organizations on August 10th. And our next meeting will be September 12th, so the second Monday because of Labor Day. And there will be a meeting that follows, so we have to be quick and be done by 5:30.
Right.
Easy to do.
And I saw it in the application, but it's on the website too for anybody since that's the workshop day, so they don't show up on the 5th thinking that there's.
Oh, yes, it is on the website. The Coda calendar notes that, it's
So if they
It's
show
an
up on the
unusual
5th,
date.
it's on them.
the building will be closed. Yeah.
The building would be closed.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have this issue every year.
And the wording was still there from last year that it's strongly encouraged to attend the workshop, but not mandatory. So,
Before you
any other-
go, I just wanted to draw your attention to the packet. You got a couple of nice thank you letters from the Des Moines Metro Opera Guild. That's all that.
Yeah.
All that there is.
Is there a way to better advertise this $3,000 limit for special project? So just in the final few minutes, does anybody have any ideas about that? I mean, are organizations aware of this? And if not, can we?
We can certainly let the organizations that we interact with regularly, we can let them know that the applications are coming out and that there's a $3,000 cap this year.
And I feel like we had a decent turnout with applications last year because we announced it at a meeting where a lot of people were here. I don't remember why they were here, but they were here.
Workshop.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. And that helped too, I think.
We got an email a while ago reminding us of the special project grant date and things, which helps a lot, because that put it in my calendar. I can certainly put it in the Ames Community Arts Monthly newsletter. There's nothing including it in that.
$3,000.
Yeah, that would be great. So what would you need from us, Jenny, to do that?
As long as the website's up to date.
Should be.
Pull it from there.
I think that would be great
If that,
and appreciate
email,
that.
whatever's easier.
That's a number to get people's attention.
Mhm.
Yes, it should.
10th. Yeah.
Perfect.
All right. Any other things?
Yes, I may add just a note about this thank you letter from the Moy Metro Opera. As a founding member of the Moy Metro Opera, 34 years now, this is a good deal because many of us, I'll be 81 in a week or so, don't want to drive, and believe me, I'm the youngest guy in the guild, just about, So this is really a good deal, and I really thank you for that. But I'll abstain in the next motion if they bring that up again. Thank you.
All right. I think that is everything. So we will adjourn.